Die Moose, vereinzelt Brombeere, die ist wenig ausgebildet.
A German environmental scientist inspects some trees that could belong to any of the forests Germany is famous for. But this is no forest. It's one of many often unnoticed clusters of woodland that punctuate Britain's sprawling Rheindalen military complex. A British base that for 60 years has been like a small town with houses and offices and is now home to the headquarters of British Forces Germany will close in 2014. What happens to it then particularly concerns the German authorities.
We want to sustain those areas with a high ecological value, and we want to protect these as a landscaping zone. As soon as the area is protected, there will be inevitably restrictions for the future use of this area, and that is one means to protect the natural landscape.
Scientist Stephanie Lübkes von Ascheberg works for the Mönchengladbach Local Authority Environment Department and is now conducting the first survey of trees and plants in Rheindalen since 1970. Her findings will help establish the environmental status of the land and influence how the site is developed in future.
We have a mosaic here of forests, of meadows, alleys and old trees, which is very important as a habitat for singing birds and as well for birds of prey, for bats, insects and mammals. We have vast open spaces with alleyways and impressive trees, which are of high value for recreational purposes also, for example such as cycling.
JHQ Rheindalen, as the complex is also known, borders nature reserves. Stephanie Lübkes von Ascheberg describes JHQ's wooded areas as protective buffer zones for those nature reserves. But she says that 60 years of people living on the site may have changed the natural balance. In places, young trees should be growing where they're not, she says, and points to ferns and nettles as evidence of something, possibly dogs, affecting the soil. Even dumping garden waste can upset a woodland ecosystem. And as for alien white snails now crawling around JHQ, apparently they shouldn't be here either. What is clear is that if, after 2014, the site is left abandoned, nature will very quickly reclaim it.
The first plants are already growing, like birches for example. Give it 8 years and many open land areas will be full of bushes.
Stephanie Lübkes von Ascheberg expects to carry out her research until the end of the year. But working in a place that is gradually emptying has been strange, she says.
Even last year there were so many families who still lived here. There was a lot going on the sports grounds and in the streets. I'm sure it's very hard for the people who live here. And for the town of Mönchengladbach this is a big loss. And we're losing our British part of the city.
Frau von Ascheberg's report will guide future plans for the Rheindalen military complex site once the British have all left in 18 months or so. She believes that it could be used for renewable energy, but whatever happens, it will all depend on extra cash, which even in Germany is a rare commodity these days. Rob Olver, Forces News, Rheindalen.